What's up guys, Doomwake here. Welcome back to another modern video on the channel. As always, before we continue, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button. Thumbs up the video. Let me know in the comment section below what you thought. Today, we're going to be playing a deck that just recently made the top 8 of the Saturday Magic Online Challenge, and that is Glimpse of Tomorrow. So, for those of you who haven't seen this deck before, it is a Cascade deck, so we have Shardless Agent, Violent Outburst, so I'm sure you're used to that. For those of you who haven't seen what Glimpse of Tomorrow is, excuse me, it is a card that has no mana cost, as all the suspend cards usually do. And what it does is you shuffle all of your permanents, only permanents you own specifically, so it is one-sided, you're not doing anything to your opponent's permanents. Shuffle all of your permanents into your library, reveal that many cards from the top of your library. Put all non-aura permanent cards revealed this way onto the battlefield. Do the same for aura cards. Put the rest of the bottom of your library in any order. So basically, you take all the stuff that's in play, shuffle it back in, flip that many cards, put all that stuff into play. So the idea is we're generating tokens for either free or kind of curving out into the Cascade spell. So the free token generators we have are Colony Garden, which is a land that enters the battlefield tap, make an 0/1 plant, so it's essentially 2 permanents for the Glimpse. Chancellor, which you can reveal in your opening hand, basically a free another permanent that you can get to get up the chain with Glimpse. Wave Sifter, which is a card you can evoke for 2 mana, which puts 2 clues into play, still counts as permanents for Glimpse of Tomorrow. So you have all these free ways and or 2 mana ways to generate extra permanents the turn before you cast Glimpse. You also have Tireless Provisioner, which you can, there are going to be some games where maybe you don't have any of the extra token generators and you want to play a Provisioner prior to casting Glimpse, because I think the sweet spot is you don't want to cast Glimpse until you have at least, I would say, 5 permanents. Anything less than that, you're a lot more likely to miss. But on anything 5 or more, I'm pretty comfortable casting it. So that's kind of where Provisioner comes in, where you can, play it on turn 3, wait a turn, play maybe a fetch land, get a treasure, play it, fetch your, crack your fetch land, get another treasure, and then you can cast a Glimpse with, now you have 7 permanents in play. So the other question that we want to ask is, what are we doing when we have Glimpse? Like when we resolve Glimpse and and put a bunch of stuff into play. So the end game is we can either eventually get Chancellor into play. What this deck is trying to do is it's trying to cast Glimpse, and then through means of generating more mana with Provisioner, you can flip that and some lands to get treasures to then cast another Cascade spell. Or you can flip a Goblin Dark Dwellers, which when it comes into play or enters a battlefield, you can cast an instant or sorcery with mana value 3 or less, which means you can cast the Glimpse, which just went to your graveyard from the first Cascade spell. So we're basically just casting Glimpse over and over again until we amass enough permanents in play to either maybe kill them with Omnath triggers, which does happen, just generate an overwhelming board presence past the turn and then attack them the turn after. But you can also kill them the same turn because Chancellor of the Forge makes tokens with haste. So if you cast enough Glimpses, generate enough permanents to get Chancellor tokens, you can just attack them the same turn and never have to pass the turn back to them. Then we also have Seasoned Pyromancer, which is kind of cool because obviously prior to casting Glimpse, if you discard 2 spells, you can make essentially 3 permanents with this card. But it's also, when you're going through the chain, you can, just kind of dig for more Cascade spells, because a lot of times you'll tap 3 mana, cast the Glimpse, and then flip some untapped lands, but maybe you don't have a Cascade spell in your hand, so if you flip a Pyromancer, you can draw some cards to find another Cascade spell. That is pretty much everything as far as the main deck is concerned. The mana base just kind of, again, we already went over the Colony Gardens. We have 1 Caverns, 1 Mine. The Caverns, again, just for what the games you're on the draw, it's really good because you can go off on turn 2 when you're on the draw. That's pretty standard in these Cascade decks. Not a whole lot else in the main deck. We pretty much went over everything there. As far as the sideboard is concerned, again, fairly straightforward stuff. We have Leyline of the Void for graveyard decks, Mystical Dispute for opposing counter spells, Force of Vigor and Foundation Breaker for, Void Mirror, Chalice of the Void, things like that. Hateful permanents that people are going to bring in against you. A Brazen Borrower for those cards as well, and then Leyline of Sanctity for the Thoughtseize matchups, as well as Burn if people are bringing that to the table. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I wanted to go over. Deck's pretty straightforward. Hopefully, we're not going to crash Magic Online when we play this deck today, because I I have played this deck in the past, and there have been Magic Online. It's hard for Magic Online to handle a significant number of tokens from Chancellor the Forge, so let's hope that we can not crash the client today. That's goal number 1. So without further ado, I'll see you back in just a little bit for round number 1. Alrighty, YouTube, we are here for round number 1. Just turn the mic a little bit. We're good. Alright. Okay, we're on the play. That's pretty good. Looks like our opponent has a companion of sorts. It's a Lurrus of the Dream Den. Well, we have 2 Chancellors, a Cascade spell, and a Colony Garden. The issue is, if they have a discard spell, they can take Shardless Sage, and we need to find a red source to cast Outburst, but don't think I'm going to mulligan this hand. 2 Chancellors, a Garden, 2 Cascade spells. Now, granted, they could be playing Hammer Time, which is the other Lurrus deck that doesn't feature discard spells, but I don't know if the Hammer Time matchup is good or bad. Notably, the tokens have haste, so you get to start going the beatdown route on essentially turn 1. Just go ham. See which Lurrus deck they are. I think with this particular hand, I would have rather have seen a discard spell, just given that we have 2 Cascade spells. They played an aid, but no creature. So that's gotta be good for us, I would imagine. Because that means we can't die next turn, and they likely can't meaningfully interact, so we should be good to just kind of go ham with the Shardless Agent for 6 permanents, which I'm pretty comfortable with. I mean, there's obviously a chance we whiff, but I would say on average 6 is kind of the magic number. Can't really ask for much more than that on turn 3, so... And you definitely want to do it pre-combat. That would have been a good draw last turn. You definitely want to do it pre-combat because, again, if you hit the Goblin tokens, you want to be able to attack with them. So, all right, let's spin the wheel. What does the wheel say? The wheel says that's pretty good. So let's go here, kill your Stoneforge Mystic. That is pretty excellent. I'm actually going to fetch before the Seasoned Pyromancer because I want to make sure that I don't hit the lands that I want to fetch. I have enough lands that it probably doesn't matter, but... And I'm going to shock so I can Cascade again. And I'm going to discard Chancellor Omnath because I'd much rather put Omnath back into my deck. This doesn't shuffle Graveyard, does it? Okay, never mind. Maybe I should have kept me Omnath then. I don't know that it matters too much, but... Alright, let's go again. And that's the thing, this deck just goes and goes and goes, and the second Glimpse is almost always going to be lethal in spots like this, yeah. I don't even know what's in play, but I just assume it's lethal. So always put the Chancellor on the trigger in the stack on the bottom, because you want to make tokens before resolving the Chancellor trigger. Choose nothing for the Furies. Well, I guess that's not actually true. I probably should have put the Dark Dweller trigger on the stack. Make the Chancellors. It's not going to matter, but... Alright, treasure. Yield to that. Yield to that. Discard Glimpse. And Wave Sifter. I just want more permanents. And then worth noting, you want to fetch prior to... to casting another Glimpse because you want to make a bunch of mana. So blue, red, green, white. Make an extra red for Chancellor. We'll resolve this. So yeah, I guess I messed up. I was supposed to resolve the Chancellor trigger first. It's not going to matter, but yeah, this game is over. We'll be here for a little bit while I make all these tokens, but you know. Treasure. I'm gonna make some food. Probably like split the difference maybe. I'll make like 3 food. Just in case. You mostly just want mana, but, you know. Discard. Garden. I have no glimpses left in my deck, so actually the Shardless Agent's bad. Okay, resolve those triggers. And the Chancellor trigger happens. We get a bunch of tokens. They also all get +1/+0. This is just lethal, I think. But we'll cast another Chancellor for good measure. Just in case it's not lethal. Although I think it is. Alright, this is 100% lethal. Alright, let's see if we break Moto with the tokens. We did not, thankfully. Alright, attack you for a lot. Well, that was cool. We did the thing. And our opponent took lethal damage on turn 3. So that was cool. Let's see what we got in the sideboard. We got Breakers and Forces. Definitely want those. Probably want the Borrower too. They're going to probably be bringing in Void Mirror, if I had to guess. The question is, what do we sideboard? Sideboarding with this deck is tough. Because at its core, you are just kind of an engine deck, and you need a lot of the pieces. So a lot of times with sideboarding, you're just trimming some of the slower cards. So, like example, Pyromancer and Provisioner are kind of definitely the slowest cards in the deck. You don't want to cut any of the free stuff. Like Fury, you definitely don't want to cut because Fury is, your best form of interaction in this matchup. Wave Sifter, I think you also don't want to cut because I think it's part of your best draws. Oh my god, I have mismatching Dark Dwellers. I just realized that. Well, I guess I'm cutting one then. I think I was going to cut one anyways, but Chancellor is a card you could consider trimming. Again, it is part of your better draws because in your opening hand it's a token, but not really sure what else to cut. Maybe a land on the draw. Maybe another Provisioner. I think Pyromancer is more important than Provisioner because A, it's a red card, and Fury is one of your more important cards on the draw, and B, it is a way to generate blockers for Hammer, like when they have their Hammer draws, so I think this makes sense to me. Let's go with this. Alright, we are on the draw. We have a Gemstone Caverns and a Fury, but we don't have a Cascade spell. I still think I'm going to keep this. This hand's got a lot of upside. I think I'm going to go Caverns, pitch Sacred Foundry, because I want to keep... I guess there's some consideration to pitch Omnath, because I probably won't have time for Omnath, but if I draw a second red card, I kind of want to have access to double Fury, because their deck is usually good at rebuilding after the first Fury. The second one is kind of the one that kind of puts the game to a close. Yeah, I think I'm going to pitch the land. We're on the draw anyways. I think it's fine. On the draw with 23 lands, I'm okay with doing this. I tend to do that a lot when I'm playing these Cascade decks, is pitch a land in spots where it might not make sense to pitch a land. Because the general statement, the general theory is you're on the draw, so you're more likely to hit a third land anyways. And if you miss, well, it's kind of the same thing as just being on the draw without the Caverns, right? I know that might be a stupid way to go about it, but... Sanctifier Envec is an interesting sideboard card. It does shut off Goblin Dark Dwellers. Okay, that resolves. I did not expect them to bring that in, but it does kind of make sense. Alright, not going to fetch here because I just want to draw lands. Notably does not die to Fury either, so I don't really have a good Fury turn. We'll just pass. We will just pass. Honestly, if I draw a land, I'm just going to cast Provisioner. Pure Steel, Paladin. Okay. They have the Hammer. Not much I can do about it. Resolves. See if they also have a 0-mana creature to go with it. They don't. So now I have a decent Fury turn. Can kill the Sentinel and the Paladin. It's not too bad. Hopefully we draw land to also play Provisioner. That'd be a really good turn. Okay, good. Let's get a Forest, because I kind of want to preserve my life total a little bit. And I think I'm going to pitch the Omnath. Because I think I'd rather have a second Fury left over. Yeah, I think that makes more sense to me. Because if I find a land, I'm just gonna slam Shardless Agent. I'm not gonna go for Omnath. So I'm just gonna do it this way. Hopefully it's a fetch land so I can get 2 treasures off of this to get more permanence for Glimpse. And you know, if things do go sideways, we do have Force of Vigor available to us if it is absolutely necessary. Although I would like to not cast that card if possible. This is just Aluris. Well, I can beat Aluris, I think. Okay, well, we have the Force of Vigor. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm just going to go for it. There's a chance we miss here, but treasure doesn't matter because I'm going to sacrifice it anyways. So, also what you want to do, worth noting, is you do want to float mana. Because your lands are going to go away anyways. So, excuse me, let's float a green mana, I believe. I'm not going to sack the treasure because I want the extra permanent more than I want the mana, but... Huh. Okay. Well, that was kind of a brick. Well, sometimes this happens. I got some 1/1s. Well, I don't need to cast Force of Vigor now because I can just hard cast it on their turn. So, I'm just going to pass and attack for 2. I also don't want to cast Fury because I think I would rather just hard cast Fury after they play Lurrus. Like, what I think is going to happen is they're going to go Lurrus Paladin. I'm going to Force of Vigor their 2 hammers, and then I'm going to untap and play Fury and kill the Lurrus and the Paladin. And they're going to be left with basically just this. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I think that's probably what's going to happen here. And I actually don't have to respond to the Paladin either. I can just wait till they equip. So we might get them into a spot where they equip the Sanctifier, attack, and then I can go block with Shardless, kill both hammers. Okay, they're going to equip the Paladin. So they're choosing to not attack. Understandable. This is to play around Fury. But if they expect me to have Force, then it doesn't really play around Fury. I guess it doesn't. I have to have both, which I do. So that's good. Let's just go green. Blue, red. I'm taking a lot of damage here. But I want to make sure I have Fury and blue mana. Oh, that's why I couldn't do this. I'm very dumb. Okay. I knew there was a reason I had to get a Stomping Ground. I thought in my head that I needed to get Stomping Ground, and I just completely forgot. Well, we drew a red card, so it doesn't end up mattering too much. Would have been nice to have hardcast the Fury, but... Here we are. Because then I would have also had a Pyromancer left over. But, you know, here we are. It's fine. It's not fine, but it's fine-ish. Yeah, I saw it was weird because, like, I knew in my head that I had to fetch a green source that turn. And I saw that the Colony Garden was in play, and I was like, oh, well, I have a second green anyways. I don't need to fetch a green source now. But then it was just like midway through it, I forgot that I was casting Force of Vigor, so that was bad. Alright, well, they're on no cards. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Put them to 4. Just bounce Paladin attack. I mean, I don't really need to bounce Paladin. They're just going to block the Chancellor and take 4, right? I can just hold on to the Borrower. Yeah, I think this is fine. They're not going to eat a Goblin and take 8. Yeah. So I guess I should have made that attack last turn, right? Because they weren't going to block the Goblin. They were just going to block here. So I just missed 2 damage last turn. Alright, and that is fine. Yeah, there's no way they would have blocked the Goblin the turn before when I cast Fury plus Force of Vigor. So I should have sent everything that turn. Not the best with nothing in the graveyard. Well, I can't actually play around Hammer, right? Yeah, I can't actually play around Hammer. Because if I hold up Borrower, they go land, animate Nexus, attack, no blocks, play Hammer. They still have an extra mana. They actually have 2 extra mana to replay the Hammer. So I can't play around Hammer anyways. Oh, I guess what I could have done is respond to the Hammer and bounce the Sigarda's Aid. So I guess I could have played around Hammer that way. If they draw Hammer, they go animate Nexus, attack, play Hammer. Before Hammer comes into play, I bounce the Sigarda's Aid. Hammer's now in play, but no aid, so they wouldn't be able to equip. So that probably would have been better. I didn't play this game very well. I missed the fetch land. Missed the attack with the 2 goblins and the Chancellor that one turn. And then this turn was a little bit closer because I am putting more pressure on them, so it's not clear that I was supposed to 100% not cast the Dark Dwellers there. Because applying more pressure to get them dead before, I can't sit here forever, but maybe it was worth to hold up the Barber that turn. Unclear. Alright, damage. Now we're not even dead to Hammer because I have a blocker. So Hammer does not even kill us. Should be good to go. What did they draw? If they attack, I will declare blocks. They draw Stoneforge. Don't believe that gets them out of it. Because we have a flying blocker and a non-flying blocker. So if they animate the Nexus, equip and then attack, we can still just block with the plant. So. Can they survive is the question. No. I don't think so. Especially not through the Borrower. This thing also has Menace, so. Alright, opponent has had enough. Yeah, game 2 was a little bit sloppy there. I made a couple, fetched the wrong land when I wanted to cast Force of Vigor. Didn't attack with the 2 goblins of the Chancellor that turn. I should have shoved with everything. And then I think this line was, this one was a little bit closer. The other 2 were, pretty obviously wrong, but I think this one was a little bit more debatable. You want to put some pressure on them. So, I don't know. It was pretty close. But anyways, we won the match, so we are 1-0. I'll see you back in just a little bit for round number 2. Hello, YouTube. We're back here for round number 2. We are on the play. And it looks like our opponent has a companion. I forgot to slide this chat box over a little bit to make the viewing experience a little bit better. So, this hand, opponent's got another Luris. This hand is not ideal, because we don't have a Colony Garden or a Wave Sifter or a Chancellor. But we do have 2 Cascade spells and a Fury, so I think I'm going to keep this. Maybe we'll just get very lucky and draw Wave Sifter on turn 2. That's probably the single best draw in our deck with this hand. The ideal curve is turn 1, well, I guess turn 1 Chancellor, or turn 1 Colony Garden. Turn 2 Evoke Wave Sifter, turn 3 Cascade spell, and that's Glimpse for 6. Verdant Catacombs. This looks to be one of the Dragon's Wraith Channeler Ragavan decks. Alright, well I got 2 discard spells. Or excuse me, I got 2 Cascade spells. They did elect to take 1, which makes sense. They drew a Misty Rainforest. I would like to not give them the information that I drew a Misty Rainforest. I'm going to have to take damage off of the Misty because I need to get a second red source for Pyromancer, but I would rather just them not knowing that I drew the Misty. I think that's worth the 2 damage. Now, you could make the argument that they're very likely to cast a second discard spell anyways, but if they don't, I'd rather them not know about this. At least that makes sense to me. And they don't have a second land. Alright, what are we discarding? I think I'm discarding Fury plus Misty. Because I want to keep the second Pyromancer in case I brick. Seems like they F6 their turn. And we did not brick. Okay. Well, I guess they were just off it. Okay. That was an unfortunate series of events. They F6 their turn. I mean, our hand was kind of gassed up anyways. I don't know what they could have done with their turn if it would have mattered, but okay. So Blood Crypt, Thoughtseize, Luris. What do we want to do against these decks? Probably just Leyline of Sanctity. You could make an argument for some of the disenchants in case they have like Chalice or Void Mirror. So maybe I want to preemptively bring in Foundation Breaker. But not Force of Vigor, because Force of Vigor is kind of bad against the card Thoughtseize. Force of Vigor is more for the matchups where they have multiple targets, like Hammer Time, any of the Saga decks, stuff like that. Could also bring in Leyline of the Void. Usually pretty good against Luris decks. What are we cutting? So this is a matchup where you can kind of just value them out. So I'm going to be cutting a lot of, like, I guess Fury isn't necessarily in that same vein, but a lot of the cards that are more so strictly there to just kind of go off, like the Dark Dwellers and the Chancellor, you need less of that stuff. Because you can just win a normal game of Magic. And again, in the same vein of Fury being really bad against the pitch spells being really bad against Thoughtseize, I think I don't mind shaving 2 Furies here. That does give me less answers to Ragavan, especially when I'm on the draw. But kind of want to keep everything else. Let's do this. Maybe I just can't afford to cut multiple Furies in the draw against Ragavan. So that might have been bad. Ooh, wow, this hand is really good. My goodness. This is about as good as it gets in a Thoughtseize matchup. Holy. We have Leyline to brick Thoughtseize, Chancellor to brick Ragavan, and then we just have the nuts. Wave Sifter into Outburst. This is one of the best hands I've ever seen. This hand does kind of get blown up by a Chalice or a Void Mirror, but, you know. Not much we can do about that. Okay, well, I guess... okay. I guess that was good enough. Are we going to get there on the land? I'm just curious. Oh yeah, this game would have been a bloodbath. Okay, well that was round number 2, I guess. We're 2-0. Not much to say there. I'll see you back in just a little bit for round number 3. Alrighty, YouTube. Round number 3. Let's see if we can have as quick of a match as the last one. On the play, 1 lander, no good. Sand's really slow and doesn't have a Cascade spell, but we have Pyromancer to dig. So I think this hand is okay. There's a question of what we want to put back. There's actually some consideration to keep Glimpse because A, we could either A, suspend it on turn 2, or B, discard it to Pyromancer and then hardcast Dark Dwellers. But I think because we have the Pyromancer to dig, I think I'm just going to bottom this? I think that's close, though. Ketria, Triome. Let's get the Steam Vents, I think. Okay. Not the best draw in the world. And the question is, do we play Provisioner or Pyromancer first? I think probably Pyromancer. Just get Stomping Ground. Make sure we have 2 red sources. Yeah, I think I'm going to jam the Pyromancer first. I think I'm going to get an island. Yeah. And then probably discard Fury and Goblin Dark Dwellers. Still no Cascade spell. Go Pyromancer again next turn, maybe? See what they do. Not sure what they're up to. They could be... I was going to say they could be the Dwarven Mine deck, but now that's less likely to be the case because they have basic Forest. This is probably Rhinos. Okay. Yep. Rhinos makes sense. Yep. I think this matchup is not great because they have Force of Negation. That card is kind of tough to beat sometimes. I'm gonna cast Seasoned Pyromancer. I need to find a Cascade spell, I think. I'm gonna discard, honestly, probably just the Wave Sifters. I don't think I have time for that stuff. Well, there's the Cascade spell, but they probably just have Force. Well, if they don't have Force, we're probably gonna win this game, but I think I'm gonna choose to not block this turn. There's some consideration to like trying to trade for a Rhino, but alright, so they're gonna kill some elementals. And that's actually not too bad, because we're still gonna have 5 permanents with the Outburst. So, or 6 actually, excuse me. 5 lands in the Pyromancer. Alright, tick 10. Let's see if this works. They have more Rhinos? Okay. They still could have Force, but again, not really a lot I can do about it. Well, actually, I can play the Provisioner first, right, to get an extra permanent? Oh, yeah. Green, blue, this. Can play the Fetch land, get a basic Forest, just to get more permanents. Treasure. Go Fetch. Get basic Forest, make a Treasure. And really hope they don't have Force. I think we're probably good if they don't, but I would say it's a pretty high likelihood they do. Yep, we are dead. Dead. Alright, against the Rhinos deck, we kind of need Dispute to fight over Force. And I think that's it. I think Fury is kind of bad against them because they're not putting multiple creatures into play early on, and the turn that they put multiple creatures into play, Fury only kills one of them anyways. So I think that's just a nice easy swap. I don't really want Force of Vigor because obviously they're not going to play Chalice or Void Mirror because they're a Cascade deck. They could bring in Blood Moon, but I have Forest Island, so I think I can afford to... I could just fetch to play around Blood Moon. So let's do this. Seems like pretty easy sideboarding from our side. And let's just kind of hope they don't draw Force, I guess. Could also bring in Borrower over the Caverns because we're on the play. How good is Borrower against them? Like, I don't know. Bouncing one Rhino just doesn't seem like it accomplishes that much. I think we just need to be as fast as possible. I don't think I'm trying to fight over their Rhinos. I think that is a losing battle if we're trying to, like, play the interactive game with Fury and Borrower. I don't think we're ever winning that game because their deck is so good at just putting more Rhinos into play. So I don't think we ever will win a game where we try to interact with their board. I I think it's just go, go, go as fast as possible. And this hand only has one land, so a mulligan. Okay, this is kind of all we could ever hope for. So, this back. Calling the Garden on 1, Wave Sifter on 2, pray that they don't have Force on 3. I mean, I'm probably going to go for it. Probably going to go for it. It's one of those things where, like, you just kind of got to make them have it, I think. Maybe if I draw a Mystical Dispute, there's some consideration to waiting, but... Bang. Attack with the... You always got to send a message with the plant. Always got to send a message. Opponent said, ouch. Right where we want him. Bang. Alright, no force, no force, no force, no force, no force. Also, there's like, you just have a bunch of Cascade spells anyways. The absolute worst part about all of this is the Force of Negation also makes it so like your hardcast Dark Dwellers just don't do it because it exiles the Glimpse, which makes it even worse. I'm casting it here because I don't want them to hold up hardcast Force. If they have Force, I want to make them pitch a card. It's kind of my idea. But hopefully they just have like a Stomp or a Brazen Borrower. Excuse me, that'd be a lot better for us. Yeah, this is better. All right, we only hit 2 lands though, which is kind of unfortunate. So let's put this trigger on the stack first. I think I'm gonna discard Provisioner Dark Dwellers. There is some consideration to keep the Dark Dwellers because the Glimpse is in my graveyard, but I'm kind of far away from it because I'm only on 2 lands. So I think I'm just going to do it this way. So we get 4 tokens. Do we want to suspend Glimpse? I don't really see a reason not to. Let's get, see, we can't get a basic here. It's not that big of a deal. They're not going to cast Blood Moon next turn. So let's get, I guess, Steam Vent, Stomping Ground. Because I do want to make sure I have green for Provisioner. But this is double red to suspend, so. Alright, 4, they go to 14. If they Rhinos me... Hopefully they don't Fire Spout me. That'd be bad. Oh, yeah, that's bad. Okay. Did not know they also had that card in their deck. Not that I could have played around it, but... Okay, that's not bad. It's not bad. So they go to 9. There's still hope. There is still hope. Although now they're just going to make Rhinos. Oh, they did bring in Blood Moon. Okay. I wasn't sure if they were going to or not. But, I mean, Blood Moon not the best against the 5/5. So we got that going for us. Question is, do I want to sack a Clue here? So this is coming off next turn. If I sack a Clue and miss, it's so bad. I'm just going to pass. I guess the awkward part is, I kind of want to just keep the Chancellor in play, but I don't have the option of not casting Glimpse. So part of me kind of wants them to just force the Glimpse. So I can just keep my 5/5 in play. Because there's a somewhat decent chance where I just like cast the Glimpse on my upkeep and miss. Oh no. Oh no. This is not good. This is not good. Well, no, I'm definitely casting it. I'm going to hold control. I'm going to float mana. I think it's worth floating mana. If they have Force of Negation, like obviously I don't necessarily want to float mana if they counter this, but now I could just sack a Clue. Because they're countering it. Man, maybe this matchup is worse than I thought it was. Every time I played this from the Rhino side, it's been close. But I'm getting obliterated here. Do I even have outs? I'm at 12. I don't think so. I don't think so. Alright, go to 4. Yeah, I don't think I have outs. Because I need to find a Cascade spell and a basic... I need to find an Outburst and a basic Forest. Which I have neither of. Alright, we're dead. Wonder if there's anything I could have done differently that game. I could have chose to not suspend Glimpse the turn after they... the turn when I cascaded. Yeah, I don't really know. I don't really know what else I could have done. But anyways, 2-1. I'll see you back in just a little bit for round number 4. Alrighty, YouTube here for round number 4. Currently 2-1, and I'm on the draw with multiple glimpses in my opening hand, which is not good. We do have Chancellor and Shardless. I still think I have to mulligan this just because I have 2 glimpses in my opener. Okay, this one's a lot better. I think I'm going to put back Fury, and then go Caverns, pitch a fetch land. Yeah, go like that. Actually, what if I just put back a land, and then go Cavern, pitch a land, keep the Fury in the red card, just in case. On the draw. Yeah, I think that's okay. Being on the draw, I think, makes it reasonable to pitch a land there. I guess the argument is now I need to find a Cascade spell and a land, but I think this is okay. Alright, they got a Foothills. Well, there's the Cascade spell. Step 1, acquired. See if I get punished for keeping the Fury. I may. Is this Rhinos again? Alright, did not get punished. And I'm just going to jam it. Definitely just going to jam it. They have force, they have force. I think I can't afford to not jam it here. Basic Island. They're going to bounce a thing? Sure. Means they're letting this resolve, which is a good sign. We get to re-glimpse. We're going to float some mana in response to the glimpse. Just going to get a forest, float green, red. Cast the glimpse. Okay. So do this, make 2 things, make a treasure, resolve the shardless. I think I'm going to get a stomping ground. And then just cast the provisioner. I think so. I think that makes sense. Treasure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I could hardcast Fury. I feel like that's worse, though. I think. Yeah. Alright, pass the turn. So it seems like they are playing Rhinos. Kind of bricked off a little bit there, but the nice thing about this is if they just go, like, land go, hold up Outburst, or play Shardless, I can just attack with everything, get them to block with Rhinos, and then Fury their Rhinos. So it's not actually too bad. Like, we can beat the first wave of Rhinos pretty easily. The second wave might be a little bit tougher to beat, but we'll see. Okay, so we're going to definitely play the land pre-combat. Make some treasures. And we only have 6 mana. Unfortunately, this costs 7, but we can, again, just attack with everything. let them block with the rhinos, and then just hardcast Fury to kill the rhinos post-combat. So it's not too bad. Yep, this is all fine. They have Footfalls. So they're probably going to block the 2 Provisioners, take 7, go to 10. Then we can just Fury the rhinos. Alright, they're at 10. So now even if they have a second wave of rhinos, which they do, they can trade for Fury. I guess they can eat the Shardlesses, chump the Fury, take 3. So we're kind of still at a standstill. Need to find a Cascade spell. Cascade spell would probably be game. Omnath we cannot quite cast. Question is, do we want to make the trade of Fury for a Rhino? 13 to 10. I'm going to sack a clue first and see in case I find Fury, because then I can Fury one of their Rhinos pre-combat. Did not find that. I think I'm just going to attack with the Wave Sifter. I think I'm going to leave the Fury on defense. Alright, they go to 6. This has been an interesting game. Kind of did the thing and didn't work out so well for us, but we got, like, that's the thing about this deck, is, like, even when you do the thing and miss, you still just put a bunch of permanents into play. Yeah, I guess I'll take the trade. Possible I'm supposed to double block with a Shardless Fury. Alright, trade's fine. Wouldn't mind finding a land to cast this Omnath. Okay. Because we can't currently cast the Omnath with the mana we have, because we have Forest Mountain Stomping Ground. The island does allow us to cast the Omnath if we so choose. So why don't we attack with the Wave Sifter first? Force the trade with Borrower. I think that trade's good for us. They have Stomp. Okay. That exchange is less good for us. Cast Omnath. Alright, go. They attack with the Rhino. I think I'm probably just going to double block with the 2 Shardlesses. Do they have another Borrower? That would stink. Because we don't actually have white mana left over to cast the Omnath without playing the fetch land first. That would not be great for us. Casting Ice. Okay. Playing with Bloodbraid Elf. Oh, interesting. I don't think I've seen that before. Very, very interesting. I am going to take 4. It's fine. So we're at 8. Cascade spell. Man. Bloodbraid Elf. That's one I definitely haven't seen before. Well, I can cast the Chancellor by fetching. I have to fetch a shock land, though, so I fetch to 12. Fetch shock to 9, play Chancellor, get 4 tokens, and then I can go Chancellor, eat a Rhino, 4 tokens, block a Rhino, Shardless, block a Rhino, Omnath, block Elf, take 4. So that is sort of a stable board, so let's do that. I think that is the play I have to make. And I'm going to get the Sacred Foundry in case they decide to bounce the Omnath next turn. Oh, I should have sacked the Clue first. Yeah, I definitely should have sacked the Clue before playing the Chancellor because I could hit a Cascade spell. And I'll pass. Yeah, that was a missequence because I had extra mana. That's why I shocked, so I could sack the Clue. But I should have done that before casting the Chancellor because if I hit a Cascade spell, then I can just do that instead of playing Chancellor, which would have been much better. We're in this like weird holding pattern where I think neither of us wants to attack, but I feel like that game favors me. Because my Cascade spells will probably just win the game on the spot. I'm not sure. They could also have Force, but... Alright, what do you got? Like, their attacks just aren't that great right now, right? Unless they have a... Depends on what they're... Like, they could have a Fire Ice or Stomp or something to make their attacks better, but... Because right now we have go 5/5 on 4/4, 4/1/1s on 4/4, 2/2/2s on 4/4, and then Omnath on 3/2, and then we're taking 4 damage in the exchange. And I get to keep these two, they get to keep these two, so... But the other thing that they have to think about is like if they don't make the attack, like by making that attack, they're trading a lot of my board away, even if they have nothing, and that makes my glimpse a lot worse. So if they make that trade and leave me with a smaller board, and then I draw a cascade spell, it's a lot worse. So that is something they have to think about as well. All right, they have decided that their attacks are not good, so we will untap. Drew a glimpse. So I want to cast Seasoned Pyromancer here. The question is, do I want to play my land first? The upside of holding is if I draw untapped land and Cascade card, I can actually go off this turn. But there is something to be said about also just suspending this, because we're kind of just in this holding pattern. I don't actually think I'm going to have time to suspend it, though, because they have a Borrower that I can't block. So I kind of think... I guess I'm gaining 4 life. Yeah, maybe I should just take this turn off, honestly. Just try to suspend this. I think that's actually fine. I think we'll have time to get there. No attacks. But yeah, you see, it's just like this weird holding pattern. Where they also can't really make a reasonable attack because if they attack with too much, we can just, crack back for lethal. So, we're in a weird holding pattern. The nice thing about being in a holding pattern like this is we have Omnath, so, even if they have a creature we can't really interact with, like the Brazen Borrower, we're still gaining a bunch of life. Let's leave up these 3. Because that casts both of our Cascade spells. Now, they probably have Force, but I am just gonna... I want to go for it now. I think it's actually better... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. Not quite a lethal attack this turn, although if the Outburst resolves, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blockers. Like, even if they force the Glimpse and the Outburst resolves, they go 6 blockers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. +1/+0 to my team makes it 2, 4, 5 damage, so we're 1 short. They would lose a lot of stuff, though. Well, no, they wouldn't, because they just put Rhinos in the Shardlesses, which are 3 power. And they go chump the Omnath, chump here, eat 2 Goblins, and then just kill me in the backswing. Yeah, that's bad. So the question is, do we want to cast Outburst this turn? I think I'm going to wait because if I draw Cascade spell... Yeah, if I draw a Cascade spell... Well, the other question is if we're waiting, do we want to evoke the Wave Sifter? It's a tough game. But the reason I want to wait on the Outburst is if I draw a Cascade spell, I can just fire off both of them in the same turn to overload their Force of Negation. Yeah, okay. I'm already in combat, so I can't really do it now. I think I maybe was supposed to cast it that turn. Okay, so that's 6 damage. I guess if they have 2 shocks, I'm dead. Do I Outburst in combat? Try and hit Fury? I guess I probably should, right? Like, I mean, if the Glimpse resolved, it's going to be lethal anyways. But I think I should try and hit Fury to kill these. I imagine they're just going to counter this. Yeah. Okay. The nice thing about forcing action there is now we're at 4, but we likely just can't die. Because they need 2 shocks to kill us, and now they can't cast 2 shocks because they don't have enough mana. So that's the nice thing about forcing it there. Alright, so they kill 4 goblins? No, they probably kill the Omnath. Yeah, they probably kill the Omnath. Omnath down. Well, we're not dead, because we have a flying blocker, so we can just play a Wave Sifter, go to 1. We can also sack one of our clues. I mean, if the Glimpse resolves, we probably have lethal. Do we need to dodge a burn spell? 6, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 3 creatures would have gotten through there. Oh. Did we die? Maybe we're just dead anyways. Did I just do the math wrong? Alright. 2, 4. 2, 3, 4. Block here. Chump, chump, chump. Take 3. Right? 4, 4, 4, 4. Here, damage. Yeah, 1 life. What's this? Okay, so we should be good. What a wild game. What a wild game. Can't imagine us breaking from this spot. I'm not even going to sack the clue. I'm just going to have 6. No reason to sack the clue here. Might as well float mana. Red, red, green, this. Okay, so let's go this on the stack first. Kill a rhino. It's fine. Alright, they are not going to make me go through this. I appreciate that. Because they were definitely dead. Okay, so what did we do against rhinos last time? We just did Dispute for Fury, which I think makes sense. I mean, it's weird because Fury would have been pretty good that game, but I feel like that game was an anomaly where they just had like multiple Brazen Borrowers attacking me. I don't think that's how the games are normally going to play out, so I think I'm just going to do the same thing again. Alright, game number 2. We are on the draw. We don't have a Cascade spell. This hand is kind of sketchy. So what's the ideal start with this hand? Turn 2, suspend Glimpse. Turn 3, evoke Wave Sifter. Turn 4, do something. Turn 5, Glimpse. I just don't know if we're gonna have time for that. I'm gonna mulligan this hand. I think you have to mulligan pretty aggressively in this matchup. This hand, I think, at least has higher upside if we draw a Cascade spell. Just gonna. We don't have time to suspend Glimpse in this matchup, I don't think. So I'm gonna ship it. Ship it. Alright, so Stomping Ground on 1, so I can go Island, Wave Sifter on 2, and then Red Source Pyromancer on 3. I do kind of want to fetch Basic Forest, because I think there's a chance they brought in Blood Moon. But if I go Basic Forest into Basic Island, I can't cast Pyromancer on 3, so worth considering there. There's also something to be said about playing a fetch land to play around this, which I probably should have done. Because if yeah, that was bad. I should have played a fetch. Because if you just play a fetch and don't crack it, they can't ice you. So, always something to be considerate about in the Rhinos matchup. Alright. Shardless Agent is happening. I want to see if they brought in Blood Moon. No Blood Moon's there. Keep in Fury, which makes sense. Okay. Yeah, so I messed that up pretty badly. I think I'm just going to YOLO Shardless. Like, if I play Wave Sifter... Yeah... It's just, there's no way this is going to work, right? I mean, I could hit a Fury, but I could also just hit no more lands. Yeah, I think I have to evoke this. This game would have been a lot easier if I had just not cracked my fetch. Just played the fetch on 1 and not cracked it. I would have been in a much better position. Yep, that was bad. That was bad. Oh, now we just have to YOLO it. Yeah, so if I'd played my fetch land, I wouldn't have cracked it on turn 2. Would have resolved Wave Sifter. They would have cascaded, and then I could have played a Shardless. Oh. Okay. So they just don't have the force? Well, Glimpse for 5 might be good enough. Okay. Oh, this is gonna come to play tapped. No! If that was an untapped land, I could have recascaded. Would not like to pay 2 life, unfortunately. We do get some blockers, though. So maybe this is good enough. Just pass. Definitely not attacking. So they have 3 cards. One of definitely don't have Force of Negation, because they would have obviously forced there. Looks like they have Fury. So they can kill Shardless Plant Goblin. And then I block Rhino, Chump, Shardless, take 4. Or are they just going to kill the Chancellor? No, they're going to do this. Okay. Oh, do they have a 3rd Borrower? Yeah, that would do it. 3rd Borrower would definitely do it. They have Outburst. So I take 5 and go to 3? Okay. We're not dead. 3. Let's get a red source. So I can cast Violent Outburst. Calling the Guard would be nice. Draw. Did not find it. I think I'm going to float green, because green casts both Violent Outburst and Shardless. Alright, we need to get pretty lucky off of this. Definitely did not get pretty lucky. Okay. Alright, game number 3. I think I'm still going to do the same thing, though. Yeah, that game would have been a lot different if I had just played my fetch land on turn 1. A lot different. Because then I could have glimpsed on 3. Probably would have won that game, honestly. So, that was a mistake. Always make sure when you're playing against a deck with Fire Ice, try to play your fetches first and just don't crack them. Well, this hand is short of mana, but I think it's quite good. Have the Caverns. Alright, well now I'm going to play Foothills on one for the exact same reason as last game. This time I'm not going to get got. Let's go... I think Forest? I think basic Forest is fine. They have a dispute? They could dispute this. No dispute. Maybe Brazen Bar the Clue token? That's what it looks like. Yeah. Okay. So now the question is, if they cascade, do we want to do it? Do we want to do ours for x equals 3? Omnath is an interesting one. I think I'm going to cast... This is tough. The Pyromancer would give me more permanence, but not if they have a Fury, right? I don't think I want to go for 4 permanents here. Although maybe I try and get them to force the first one for 4, but I don't think they'll do that. I think they'll just let the first one resolve. So I think in order for me to get a force out of their hand, I have to wait until I have more permanence. And Seasoned Pyromancer accomplishes that the best. So I can just go Seasoned Pyromancer, discard, Provisioner Omnath, and then keep both Cascade spells. And hopefully get 2 more turns. I might not, but... They also, I guess, could just dispute this, but... If they're disputing that, then they're not making Rhino, so I think that's fine for me. But I think I need to keep both Cascade spells. Yeah, so now they're going to play Violent Outburst. We're going to take 8, go to 9. And then I guess hope we draw a Dispute. Alright, they also definitely have Force because they've been F8'd the entire game. And the only time that when you're F8'd, if you get priority back when there's a spell on the stack is if you have Force, so that they 100% have Force. It's not even close. So now are they going to ice me? I don't know if they're going to ice me or not. Maybe. Alright, well I can just play land go. Hold up Outburst. No attacks. I think what I'm probably gonna do is... It's kind of close. I could wait until they attack to cast the Outburst. It kind of depends on what they do. Because if I cast the Outburst on their turn, they have to hardcast Force. Which means they can't do anything else with their turn. So if I do it in combat, they have to force it, then I have full information on how I want to block. Casting Fire on my Elementals. So now if I Outburst, they can force pitch. Alright, I'm going to let that go. They're probably going to go to attacks, and I'm going to cast Outburst before blocks. I think. Because I want them to have to hardcast Force. But I also want to do it before blocks. Because I might get a Fury. Or no, I boarded out Furies, didn't I? Yeah, never mind. But I might get like an Omnath or more blockers that way or something. So, cast this. Assume it's getting countered. Okay. Think I'm going to go to 1. I know I can't fetch, but I don't need to fetch anyways, because I have 3 mana to cast the Shardless. Alright, so they still need Force Blue card. If they have Force Blue card, then good beats, I guess. Jesus. Alright, well, we're dead. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I was supposed to cast Outburst on my turn, or like when they decided to cast Fire, maybe that's when I should have cast the Outburst. But I don't think it would have mattered because they could have just they still would have had Force Blue card, so they could have Force Blue card there, and then just untapped, attack for 8, held up all their mana, and then just disputed when I went to go for it on my turn. So I think the outcome still would have been the same. They just drew too many counter spells. I feel like this matchup is good, but not really sure. Anyways, 2 and 2. We'll see if we can get the 3-2. I'll see you back in just a little bit for round number 5. All right, YouTube, we're here for round number 5. Currently 2 and 2. Took some unfortunate losses to Rhinos. Let's see if we can bring it back. The Gemstone Caverns always haunts me. This hand's super high upside. I'm going to keep it. I know that we can't currently cast Wave Sifter, but boy, if we draw a land, this hand is really good. So I think I'm going to keep it. I mean, there's definitely a reason that Gemstone Caverns is not free. You have to put it in your deck, and there are going to be situations where you're on the play and that this happens. But, I don't know. When you're on the draw, it's high enough upside, I think, that it is worth it. Concealed Courtyard. Uh-oh. Getting grief scammed. Grief scam, classic. Alright. So they take Shardless, Ephemerate, take... Well, actually, they probably just take Wave Sifter, Ephemerate, take Wave Sifter, then on their next turn take Shardless. Assuming they have the Ephemerate, which they always do, right? That's how it works. Okay. Sure. Oh, so it's not Ephemerate, that's why they did it this way. Makes sense. Alright, Grief has entered the battlefield again. I'm not fetching to increase the chances of me drawing a land for Wave Sifter, which I did. So let's go... I want to fetch 2 red for Seasoned Pyromancer, so I want to get Steam Vent Stomping Ground, I think. Because I want to make sure that I can cast Pyromancer if I draw, because that is one of my better draws. Alright, your turn. Hopefully we just draw a Cascade spell. And everything is fine. Alright, I will take 4 damage. Get a 10. Not a Cascade spell. I'm actually not going to sack the Clue now, because they're playing with discard spells. So if I sack Clue now and draw a Cascade spell, it just gives them more time. It gives them more cards for them to like hit a discard spell, try and tag a Cascader. Whereas if I just wait, then I get the card end step. They're not casting their discard spell. I guess it doesn't change anything versus specifically Ephemerate, because they can Ephemerate on my draw step, but... Alright, they're not casting Ephemerate, but we don't have any more turns, so we have to try and find it. That is not it. That is also not it. I don't think I have any outs, but... Oh, I guess Fury would be an out. Alright, I guess we are dead. Well, I think that these Grief decks are quite bad. This matchup is probably not great for us. We only have 2 ley lines, but we kind of have to hope that we find it. I could bring in the black ley line as well, because it shuts off Undying Evil, but it doesn't shut off Ephemerate. I feel like it's not enough. Also, they sometimes have some sideboard cards like Chalice or Void Mirror, so I might want to bring in Foundation Breaker, but not Force of Vigor, because... And I'm actually going to cut Fury for that reason. I don't want to have any of the exile a card from my hand kind of thing. Kind of similar to the last Thoughtseize matchup we played. I think this is exactly how I sideboarded versus them, and this is kind of the default setup versus Thoughtseize decks. Like, there is some consideration to bring in Fury against Stoneforge Mystic, but if you're doing your thing beats Stoneforge Mystic every time, so. Granted, you know, them having Grief and Thoughtseize means you do your thing less often, but I still think that you just kind of have to hope. These matchups generally aren't pretty good. I think we got insanely lucky the last Thoughtseize deck that we beat. Like, game 1, they kept the one-lander. Game 2, we just had we had Leyline plus Chancellor, and they didn't even want to play versus the Leyline, but... So maybe if Thoughtseize decks get more prevalent, then maybe you should play 4 copies of Leyline of Sanctity. But for now, they're not terribly all over the place. They're in small doses, but it's not like they're everywhere. All right, game number 2 we're on the play. This darn Gemstone Caverns yet again. So this hand's not the best, but I do like keeping a hand with 7 cards against Grief and Thoughtseize, even though... So it's like, it's tough, because there is some consideration to try and mulligan towards Leyline, because a lot of their deck is just turned off with Leyline, or a lot of their good cards are turned off. But at the same time, if we only have 2 Leylines, right? So if you mulligan to 6, trying to find a Leyline, and then you don't find it, you now have to go to 5, and once you're on 5, even if you have a Leyline, it's just hard to have enough resources to have a functional draw. So it's kind of, you kind of have to balance that, you know? Alright, they decided to bring in Leyline of the Void, which I guess makes sense against Goblin Dark Dwellers, but I think I am totally fine with them bringing that card in. Because for the most part, it's not going to do all that much. Like, I think when we're going off, I don't think we really care that much about Leyline. Again, it does turn off Dark Dwellers, but we can just put enough stuff into play to the point where... oh my god, did I board out Fury? I forgot they had this card. I didn't know that they did, but here we are. Well, this is not good. I did not know that they had that card. And now I don't have any answers to it. Well, this is awkward. I guess I'm going to cast Provisioner. Try and get some stuff. Go. You have to beat them the hard way. It's going to be pretty difficult without Fury, because Fury is one of our ways to catch back up. Now that I've known how they sideboard, if we do go to Game 3, I will bring back in Fury. I did not know that these decks played Drannith Magistrate. It makes sense. Alright, Awakening Stoneforge Mystic. Faldra, yep. Be really nice if I had a Fury. So I can fetch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana, so I can get 2 treasures. 6 mana, I can play a 4/4 that doesn't do anything. Can cast Seasoned Pyromancer. I think what I probably should do is go Scalding Tarn, Treasure. Yes, let's go Treasure, fetch for Mountain, get another Treasure, and then just cast the Seasoned Pyromancer, discarding the Shardless and the Dark Dwellers because they just don't do anything. I think my only way to win is going to be like hard cast a Chancellor or 2 and just try to go wide. I will happily take whatever trade this ends up being, whether it's for either one of those. Don't believe they're going to make that trade. I could have played a second Provisioner there, but I have to sack 2 treasures to do so. I don't know that that's worth it. Maybe it might have been. Because then I'm just going to get... Well, I can just cast Provisioner and then go fetch treasure next turn. But it might have been better. Oh, no, I want to do it this way because now... Yeah, because now I can go Omnath first. Because if I sack both treasures to play the Provisioner, I don't get to play Omnath first. So I think doing it this way is better. Because I have this stupid Gemstone Caverns. Alright, so... White, green, red, blue. Omnath. They have Solitude? They do. Okay. It's a little annoying. Do they also have Ephemerate? They do. Okay. Man. This is rough. So now I can't do anything? I mean, I can cast Provisioner, but they're just going to blink the Solitude and kill it, so I think playing a spell here doesn't make any sense at all. So I guess I'm just going to pass. Well, I thought I had a chance at this game, but they had the Solitude and the Ephemerate. Losing to these decks is always so unfortunate. But, oh well. People do play them, you know. There are people that enjoy playing these decks, for better or for worse. Maul of the Skyclaves. So I guess they're going to maul this. Sure. So we take 10. Start chump blocking next turn. They also gain 5. Pretty sure this game is out of reach, but... Like, what's my plan? Because my plan at first was to try and go wide and race them with Chancellor, but now they have essentially a Baneslayer Angel in play, so I can't even race that. Like, I can go Provisioner, make some chump blockers, but this thing has Trample, so I can't even chump block that. I guess I can start making food? Maybe? Just gain some life? Yeah, I guess. I got nothing else to do. Go, I guess? Sure. Go. Man. Alright. They attack with both. I guess I probably just crack a food, take the hit. Get a forest, make a food. So go to 12 and take 10 and go to 2. No blocks. They're at 22. Yeah, it's just like, I don't know. How do I get out of this? Stoneforge. Guess they're going to get the sword. Batter Skull, sure. Yeah, I just don't see it. Like, if I had Fury in my deck, I could probably still win this game, but because I boarded out Fury, I didn't expect them to have this, and I just don't really see myself coming back, so I'm just not going to waste anybody's time. Okay, well, 2 and 3, really unfortunate. We lost to Rhinos twice. I think that matchup is super close, and then we were not prepared for the sideboard cards that our black-white opponent had. Overall, I think if you enjoy playing combo, this deck is... It's a little flimsy, you know. I think that it's kind of like if you're choosing to play a Cascade deck, I think the Rhinos deck is a lot better at playing a normal game of Magic not involving casting your Cascade spells. Like they have, this deck also has Fury, but they have like Bone Crusher Giant, Brazen Bar, where they can play a much more normal game of Magic. Whereas this deck is just like, the cards that aren't involving the Cascade loop are a lot clunkier, like Goblin Dark Dwellers, Chancellor, Tireless Provisioner, and, those cards just don't realistically win a game of Magic when you're not comboing. So I think this deck might be a little bit more explosive, but definitely worse against Hate, as you saw in round number 3. Overall, it was a lot of fun, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you made it all the way to the end, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.